2021. Due to the long rainy season experienced in the country since August last year to this day, to date, the condition of the national roads continue to deteriorate, and the kilometers of paved and unpaved network in fair and poor condition is likely to increase significantly. This has further been accelerated by delayed maintenance interventions due to budget separations, which we suffered in the financial year 2021-2022, and the inadequate release of budget funds, especially in Q1 of 2022-2023. The sections below provide details of disaggregated commitments on ongoing upgrading and maintenance projects, maintenance backlog, and requirements for the next 3 years. Major maintenance interventions. The following terms are used in road development and maintenance, and the explanations as below. Periodic maintenance, what does it mean? Periodic maintenance involves all maintenance works carried out on a road section after intervals of several years. The norm for paved roads being at intervals of 4 to 7 years, depending on the growth in traffic volume and action on environment and weather. The actual frequency of intervention is further determined using the asset management system, which we are developing within UNRA. Typical periodic maintenance works on paved roads include thin bituminous overlays, surface resealing, shoulder repairs, reinstatement, road marking, and reinstatement of road signs. Road rehabilitation. Rehabilitation includes activities that restore the original condition of the road through relatively extensive works like pavement layer reconstruction, mirror and repress, reshaping of the cross-section, reconstruction of shoulders, drainage works, and thick overlays. I gave an example of Kampala-Jinja Road, and soon we shall be looking at Kampala-Masaka Road. The frequency of intervention depends on the traffic volume and the state of road deterioration. Intervals of rehabilitation interventions are expected to range from 10 to 15 years. However, where available, the frequency is again determined by the asset management system. Road reconstruction. When the road condition deteriorates to a very poor state, exhibiting weak and deteriorated pavement layers with a non-functional drainage system, then it requires full replacement. Reconstruction is undertaken to rebuild the road, pavement, and drainage system. In some instances, improvement of the subgrade strength and geometric realignment may be required. I gave an example of Kampala-Matuga, Matuga-Kapeka Road, and also Mutukula, Chotera, Masaka. The frequency of intervention depends on the state of the road deterioration, which often triggers outcry from the road users for intervention. Road upgrade. Road upgrading includes works that improves the level of service of the road to beyond that of its original standard. Activities like road widening, lane addition, geometric improvement, pavement works, and related auxiliary works are executed. I gave the example of Enkunye Apache Road. Ongoing national roads projects. Periodic maintenance. UNRA is currently carrying out periodic maintenance on 2 paved national roads, covering a total of 93 kilometers, with a funding commitment of about 113 billion over the next 2 years. There are a number of tables there, and in table 1, you'll find those roads. I request the honorable members to look at those tables as we refer to them. Rehabilitation projects. There's ongoing rehabilitation of 6 paved national roads covering a total distance of 531 kilometers with funding commitment of about 682 billion over a period of the next 3 years. The roads are different progress of implementation as shown in table 2. Further to this, a total of 7 road rehabilitation projects covering a total distance of 324 kilometers were substantially completed in the financial year 2021-2022. These projects have outstanding payments such as retention funds in accordance with the contractual terms amounting to approximately 55 billion. The projects which were done include Namunsi Silonko Muyembe Kapchorwa Road, 65 kilometers, phase 1 and 2. Masaka Town Roads, 7.3 kilometers. Nakarama Tiruinyimbali, 93, including Iganga, Busembati, and Namtumba Town Roads. Fort Poto and Tuhima, 55 kilometers. Chenjojo Fort Poto and Hima Katungulu and Kasese Town Roads and Hima Service Roads. Upgrading projects. Currently, there are 20 ongoing road upgrading projects. These are roads which are being moved from gravel to tarmac. They are being upgraded to paved standards across the country, covering a total of 1,083 kilometers, with a committed funding requirement of approximately 1.8 trillion. The upgrading road projects are at the different levels of implementation, and they are as indicated in Table 3. Further to this, a sum of approximately 243 billion shall be required to close projects that were substantially handed over between the financial year 2021 and 2022. Bridge development projects. Construction of bridges has continued across the national road network, and progress is at different levels. These are the number of bridges are many. They are referred there in table number 4. And currently 14 bridges with a funding requirement of 356 billion are under construction across the country. The bridges that were substantially completed in the financial year 2020-2021 and 21-22 will require at least 17 billion to cover retention monies for the respective services provided after the final project have been handed over. I refer you to 2.2, national roads under procurement. The list up there was showing the bridges which have been done. National roads under procurement, that's 2.2. We have 4 rehabilitation projects covering 323.5 kilometers, and these are in Table 5. Externally financed strategic national roads and bridges. That's 2.2.2. A total of 13 projects covering a length of 720.8 kilometers have committed financing from development partners and shall require counterpart funding for land acquisition from government of Uganda. The estimated amount is Uganda shillings 354 billion, required over a period of 3 years to ensure timely acquisition of the right-of-way and utilization of the committed funds for successful project implementation. These details are contained in Table 6. Town roads, a total of 3 town roads projects covering a length of 41 kilometers are under procurement and will require an estimated amount of 213 billion for implementation over the next 2 years. And the details are in Table 7. National roads under procurement, but without confirmed financing. Many of these are what you have been referring to as directives in the blue letters. Among the national roads prioritized for implementation in the Integrated Transport Infrastructure Services Program, IATS, for the National Development Plan 3 period, a total of 12 covering a length of 964 kilometers are ready in advanced stages of procurement. It is estimated that they will require a funding of 3.7 trillion without the cost of land acquisition. The details of the specific requirements for each road are on Table 8. National roads and bridges due for maintenance interventions. Currently, there are 10 paved national roads totaling 436.6 kilometers that have been technically assessed to be in the need of rehabilitation intervention. They require a funding of about 596 billion. The details are in Table 9. paragraph 2.3.2, periodic maintenance. A total of 1,204 kilometers of paved roads have been technically assessed to be in urgent need for periodic maintenance intervention to deter accelerated deterioration to rehabilitation or reconstruction phases, which would require 5 or more times the current cost in the next 3 years. They constitute key links within the national network and require about 1.3 trillion over the next 3 years. These are in table 10. Bridge development 2.3.3. The national road network, which is 72% unpaved, traverses through swamps, streams, and rivers across the country. Some sections of the national road network across the country become very slippery and difficult to maneuver, and a few totally get submerged or washed away whenever it rains. We had this such an occurrence highly occurring in the Elgon and also in individual areas. The national unpaved road network has a total of 297 bridges across river crossings. Some of these bridges are as old as 70 years, while others were installed as temporary crossing to aid movement. Over time, the government of Uganda has been replacing the temporary bridges with permanent structures whose service life is about 50 years. UNRWA identified 21 small bridges across the national unpaved road network for reconstruction and 8 locations where there exists culvert lines that require replacement with new bridges. The proposed 29 bridges will form part of the future paved network when the roads are designed and upgraded to Class 2 paved standards. The selected bridges lie on Class C gravel roads and are generally in areas that have, over time, been affected by heavy rains and prone to flooding whenever the heavy rains set in. The identified bridges are more than 50 years and in very poor conditions, with missing or damaged safety facilities due to inadequate maintenance. These small bridges require a total of about 65 billion over the next 3 years, and the details are in table 11. Other strategic national roads. A total of 9 projects covering a length of 359 kilometers are under different project preparation stages. Most of these roads were prioritized in Integrated Transport Infrastructure and Services Program for the National Development Plan 3 period and identified for funding under what we had called Alternative Financing Mechanism, or FM, which I think Ministry of Finance is finding difficult to accommodate. Some of these roads are under appraisal by development partners, although the funding is not yet confirmed. The details of the specific requirements for each road due for upgrading are shown in table 12. Paragraph 3, review of the allocation for 23-24. In the next financial year, 23-24, national roads have been allocated a budget of 595 billion for development, rehabilitation, and land acquisition through the Integrated Transport Program. Based on the current contractual commitments, even if the budget for financial year 22-23 is fully released, it is projected that there will be a debt of approximately 300 billion by the end of this financial year, which will be carried forward to the 23-24 budget. This debt takes first priority, takes first call on the budget, and is therefore included in the required resources for the next financial year. This means no allocation has been made towards works to be executed in 23-24, and neither can any rehabilitation and periodic maintenance projects be commenced unless we are confirmed, unless this situation changes. It should further be noted that the progress of externally financed projects largely depends on the speed of land acquisition to provide right-of-way for the projects and the availability of counterpart funding in accordance with the projects, in accordance with the financing agreements. Therefore, the remaining amount of about 295 after removing the 300 billion from the 595 will be committed to counterpart funding to realize success on externally financed projects and reduce burden on government paying claims and fines of non-performing loans, which spells doom because we shall not be able to do any new projects unless the situation really changes. National Road Maintenance Strategy, paragraph 4, under normal maintenance of paved roads, it is desirable to undertake preventive maintenance in accordance with the operation and maintenance plan prepared for each road after completion of upgrading work to enable serve their design life. Down are the estimated costs, which these are estimates, really. For example, routine maintenance, we estimate that it would require about $2,500 to $5,000 per kilometer. Spot periodic maintenance, about 51 to 100,000, blah, 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 and other. It is evident that for every delayed maintenance intervention, the cost at the next intervention level becomes exponential in a short term. It takes about 2 to 3 years for a road to fall from periodic maintenance to rehabilitation level, increasing the cost of intervention 4 to 7 times. My committee, and I want to appreciate the Committee on Infrastructure, has been very, very categorical on the issue of maintenance funds. The outcome indicators of the above intervention ensure the preservation of the investment in the form of maximizing the asset value, where asset value is the cost of the road or bridge in its current condition after factoring in depreciation, whereas replacement value is the cost as though the road or the bridge were new or at 100% condition. As of June 2022, the total asset value of paved roads, our total asset value, is estimated at $5.2 billion, and the replacement value of US dollars, 6.9 billion. This shows that an asset loss of 21%. This shows an asset loss of 21%. The total asset value of the national road network, including unpaved roads and bridges, is about 7 billion, with a replacement cost of 9.5 billion. International best practices in road maintenance dictate that about 3% US dollars, that's of the replacement value, should be availed for preventive maintenance each year. Over the last 9 years, however, allocation to maintenance has been an average of about 1% of the value of the road network against the requested budget of 690 billion per year. This allocation is only enough to maintain about 24.5% of the national road network. It's for this reason that we have a backlog of maintenance and often let most roads slide into rehabilitation and reconstruction stages before intervention. Requested budget for adequate maintenance. From the recent analysis, about 28%, that's 1,590 kilometers of the paved road network, was found to exhibit wide cracking and moderate roughness, which triggered periodic maintenance, while 7% has severe to warning roughness, and this requires light or heavy rehabilitation. A case in point is Kampala-Masaka Road. Furthermore, there are about 8,800 kilometers of unpaved roads that are due for upgrading because of the increased traffic volumes on these roads, and they had been identified under NDP3. This category requires increased periodical maintenance, even if they're still in their gravel stage. We need to maintain them and respond, especially when heavy rains happen and they damage the structures. It is therefore recommended that at least 690 billion per year be allocated and committed to sustainably undertake preventive maintenance of the national road network. This figure shall be updated annually depending on the annual assessments undertaken. In conclusion, before we embark on structural sustainable maintenance strategy, we need to complete the ongoing projects. We can't start new projects until we have completed this as guided by the National Planning Authority. Commence projects with the confirmed external financing, reduce the current maintenance backlog created by inadequate allocation of maintenance funds, and reconstruct aged and damaged small bridges, for example, the Sezuwa Bridge on Kayunga. In summary, the cash flow requirements for the national roads and bridges can be stated as follows. Total funds requirement for all ongoing periodic maintenance, rehabilitation, upgrading and projects and bridges projects is estimated at 3.26 trillion over the next 3 years. This necessitates an allocation of about 1 trillion per financial year in the medium term, in the MTF. 2, total requirement for rehabilitation projects under procurement and Government of Uganda counterpart funding for externally financed national road upgrading and town roads projects is approximately 1.2 trillion in the medium term. This necessitates an allocation of about 20% advance payment, which is about 240 billion in the next financial year to enable commencement of civil works on these roads. Total requirement for national road upgrade projects in procurement but without confirmed source of funding is approximately 3.7 trillion. Most of these projects were proposed for financing under the alternative financing mechanism, whose terms and conditions appear to be very stringent for the potential contractor, and Minister of Finance is yet to advise on the way forward. But the little we understand, that Minister of Finance says it may not be tenable to employ this kind of funding. Total requirement for critical national roads and small bridges assessed for immediate maintenance intervention is estimated about 1.2 trillion. Therefore, in light of the budget suppression and inadequate releases, it's our prayer that adequate resources are allocated to prioritize and clear the following backlog. Ongoing national road projects, counterpart funding for externally financed national road projects, and procurement, because these have attract interest if we don't implement them. And already the contractors on site, if they are not financed, they will charge for idle equipment. Rehabilitation projects under procurement, because some of these are very critical, as you'll see in the tables. For example, Mutukula, Chotera, Masaka, Kikorongo, Bwera, Mpondwe, Nebi Goli, Nebi Arua. These are very critical roads which we need to respond to now. National roads and bridges assessed for immediate periodic maintenance and intervention. The number of bridges which are very, very critical, which we cannot afford to postpone. For example, the Sezuwa Bridge I was talking about on Kayunga Road, it's over 70 years old and it's really gone. Katunguru Bridge in Kasese, that needs intervention, and other bridges on major roads. So we need to intervene on these ones. Right Honorable Speaker, members of Parliament, in the document, there is also another set of documents which give the details about the Duka roads, district and urban community access roads. In that document, you'll find reports about the damage on our national roads, which happened during the rains, and where regions and districts have submitted for intervention. We visited the sites, costed the sites. There was a directive that we should get money to intervene immediately after the rains. We have never got any money, so those roads have remained in those bad conditions. So those are the Duka on Duka network. Also in the document, you'll find ongoing projects which we are implementing, including even the name of the contractor who's carrying out that project, so that you can also be able to supervise and be able to check out on some of those projects. In the tables, there are many tables. I don't know whether Right Honorable Speaker we could go to some of them, or I leave the members to they must have gone through, and they can raise issues
they have uploaded, you can
on specific ones. Thank you, Right Honourable Speaker. I beg to submit.
Thank you so much, General. Thank you so much, General. After hearing what the Minister is saying, you realize what is causing a lot of these problems is inadequate provision or allocation of funds. We need to look at the issue of allocation of funds. He says he needs 690 billion. We'll need a response from the Minister of Finance in respect to that. We need money in the road fund, in the national roads. There is also an equal distribution of these roads. To ensure fairness and national character, and that is a national objective in the Constitution. It must have a national character. I did not hear Nakapripirit. I did not hear Vukoman Simbi. I didn't. So it must have a national character. We also need to look at the local capacity of order. We need to build the local capacity of our contractors. We are not going to continue using these people from out all the time. And that's why I appreciate the bill of Honorable Shabe. Bubu. Build Uganda, buy Uganda, build Uganda. So we need to promote our local contractors. But most importantly, equal distribution of these resources. If there's a road in Masaka, let it be there in Ites also, let it be there in Honorable members, you've heard from the Minister. Hey, all of you want to talk on the roads? I am going to give only. We have a very serious matter. Is your Mpaka, is your report ready? No, it's ready. We have a report on NSSF, which must come now. Let me start with a shadow. Let me start with a shadow. Shadow Minister of Works.
Thank you, right, Honourable Speaker. Honourable Namoga is my auntie, so I think she took it for granted that we are home. And as a son, I have to follow. Thank you very much, Honourable Minister, for the comprehensive report. We have been talking about this issue with the Honourable Minister of Works. And I think the problem does not lie with the ministry. I think we have to look at this squarely. The problem lies with the Minister of Finance.
Minister of Finance, the problem is with you.
Yes.
And you're busy talking.
We have passed resolutions here to do with these particular matters, and they have adamantly refused to abide and comply with whatever has been passed. Parliament, for example, has talked about operationalization of the road fund, and there's nothing coming out of all those resolutions. Again, when you look at the budgetary appropriations and the releases, still money is not remitted on time. We also have an issue of appropriation and prioritization. So whatever is appropriated, again, the ministry. So I think it's my prayer, and I think I'm talking also on behalf of the Infrastructure Committee, that this matter, we should take it upon as Parliament and come up with serious resolutions. I looked at the report by the Minister, which was uploaded yesterday. It was a little bit late, but all the lamentations go to the Ministry of Finance. So I find it hard for us to keep here talking about issues to do with road maintenance, new projects, when the minister adamant is coming up with supplementary budgets which are classified on matters which we also don't know, where we have issues concerning us as parliamentarians. If the roads are not worked upon, then you cannot talk about any development. Whatever budget, this is the bottom line. My chairman at the infrastructure, the other day said we almost resolved not to see UNRWA works coming up explaining why things are falling apart, because they are not funded, and the funding organ is Parliament. So if you don't appropriate, then what do you expect these people to come up with the projects and the maintenance? It's my prayer.
Can you conclude?
Yeah, it's my prayer, right, Honorable Speaker, that this matter be sent to the Infrastructure Committee, the report, sorry, for proper analysis. Then we come up with directives this time round to the ministers of finance. Because unless we expect to have miracles from the Minister of Works without any funding, virtually, actually, I said last time that whatever you are saying, this is a wedding budget. He comes up, it's a wedding, but you cannot perform miracles.
Yes, so we've got the message. We'll need to make analysis of this report further. But the issue of equal distribution, equitable distribution, is not on the budget. It is by design. That is by design. Can I have Businje?
Thank you, Right Honorable Speaker. Honorable members, I want to thank our Minister for Works for his report, to which I believe, Honorable, Right Honorable Speaker, that is becoming a norm. I feel tired because every time Honorable Katumba stands here, he stands more or less of a lamenting person, which is not giving solutions. Right Honorable Speaker, Ugandans are tired of bad roads. We've cried of budgets, law cuts, and we are not finding solution. You look at a budget, like for example, Hoima district, get 380, for the district, yes. I'm talking of the district now.
Honorable members,
Speaker, protect me.
If
I'm on the district, on my...
Honorable members, if I hear anybody heckling at a colleague, I'll chase you.
Thank you, Right Honorable Speaker.
Can you
In my case on the district roads, Right Honorable Speaker, Hoima gets 380 million for a full year. It is insufficient, and we believe we are making a mockery of ourselves.
Is that for the oily roads?
Yes, and members of Parliament when we go to appropriate. Thank you very much, Right Honorable Speaker, but I believe the issue of budgeting and appropriation should be taken with very serious consideration. I thank you.
Members, we need to agree on this. The issue is on the budgets. If we can't handle the aspect of the budget, let's give this issue to finance. Finance will come and report on how much they are budgeting for the roads. That is what is important. The issue of maintenance and all that, that is in relation to money. For me, what is most important is equitable distribution of these roads. Because the distribution is by design, not because there is no money. You can still take the other money. You want to know how many roads, how many kilometers have you made in each region. Each region. Honorable Katumba, we will need that report from you.
Thank you very much, Right Honorable Speaker. Right Honorable Speaker, I expected General Katumba to communicate through this platform about the status of road units to the new districts. But unfortunately, he has become silent on it. Yet the new districts, Right Honorable Speaker, are suffering, they have no road units, and Parliament appropriated the money. Secondly, Right Honourable Speaker, in his report, he mentions something very disturbing, that he needed 232 billions, Right Honourable Speaker, for Duka roads, and he only got 80 billions. Right Honourable Speaker, I am so disturbed that this morning, Amina of Atiaka Sugar was given 274 billions on a closed Atiaka project. I don't understand what Minister of Finance
Where was she given from?
Madam Speaker, I'm a member of the Budget Committee.
But
And
excuse
this
me,
morning,
Honorable Oshabe, the rules of procedures of this house, you don't come and discuss what has been in the committee. In the house,
Madam, that is...
you're doing rumor mongering.
Madam,
Let's wait for a report from the committee to be brought to the house. For us, we don't know what is happening in your committee.
Madam Speaker, it is also public information.
No.
That the Minister of Finance gave 274 billion.
You've just apologized for hearsay. Again, you're on hearsay. Itungo.
Thank you, Right Honourable Speaker. Right Honourable Speaker, I want to thank the Minister for the statement. But Madam Speaker, my case is a unique case, and I want the Minister to pay attention. Madam Speaker, as Mbara District, we received money from Uganda Road Fund for the district roads and the sub-county roads. But we have a central mechanical workshop which is meant to service the graders and all the road equipments. Now, this workshop is not facilitated. What is happening now, all the graders are grounded. The money is on the accounts of the sub-counties and the districts, but the roads cannot be worked on because the graders have no tires, they have no spare parts, they are just there. So the money is idle on the accounts, but the vehicles are not doing anything. So, Honourable Minister, I wanted to bring this to your attention, that the Central Mechanical Workshop Mbarara is in a bad shape. We have the money, but we don't have the graders. Thank you.
Honourable members, I want to advise you next time, don't wait for the House to debate this. The Honourable Minister is available. Report such cases to the Ministry. Huh? Honourable Abed. Honourable Abed.
Thank you, Right Honourable Speaker.
There is a procedure
I want to
matter.
appreciate...
Procedure matter.
Thank you very much, Right Honourable Speaker. Right Honourable Speaker, the item that you called is the status of national roads in the country. What the Minister has presented is nowhere near the status of national roads. If you ask each and every member of Parliament to scan through the table that he has presented, some regions are not even reflected. So what is the Minister reporting on? Secondly...
That's why I talked about national equitable distribution of these roads.
Yes,
because I didn't see some of them from my place.
And that's where my procedural matter is. So, Madam Speaker, wouldn't it be procedurally right? Twofold. First, the Minister reports that Cabinet sat on the 19th of December 2022 and agreed to increase funding to the road sector. It is in your report. It is on your report on the 19th of December 2022. You state it. But under it, you go and say there were budget suppressions. Under it, you say that you did not get funding. And the Ministry of Finance is seated here. Wouldn't it be proceeded right that the Ministry of Finance first tells us how far you have implemented that cabinet resolution to increase funding for the road sector? And secondly, we reject this report until it has the national outlook, reporting on each and every road in this country.
Honourable,
Honourable Speaker, clarification. I didn't say the cabinet increased the funding. This is what I read. following the midterm review of the National Development 3 plan by National Planning Authority and a cabinet meeting held on the 19th day of December 2022, a proposal to reprioritize, not to get more funds, reprioritize funds allocated to the development of national roads was discussed, and cabinet directed that emphasis be placed on maintenance of existing roads. So where is the increase now?
Can we hear from the Minister of Finance?
Honorable Speaker.
Can we hear? There is already a motion here that we don't continue with the report.
Madam Speaker, thank you very much. To emphasize what the Minister of Works has just said, because of financial constraints, we agreed as a government that there is a need to reprioritize within the existing roads on what we can do and what we can't do, with emphasis on maintenance and also improving the maram roads that are already in existence. Madam Speaker, the bottom line is, and it is painful, but I must say it, that the circumstances we are operating in does not give us additional money to allocate to the ever-growing priorities of government. So in the circumstances, that's why we are saying, can we reprioritize? There is a point Honorable Itungo made on
Yes, Madam Speaker, thank you very much. I feel very, elated to put on order the Minister. But Madam Speaker, the Minister has been talking about the issue of prioritization because of lack of funding. But Madam Speaker, it is in the interest and in the knowledge of all Ugandans that Uganda is constructing a road in DRC Congo as a priority. Is the Speaker, is the Honorable Minister right really to say that the issue is about money and yet they prioritize the construction of road in DRC Congo, leaving most of the roads here not as a priority? Is he in order?
Honorable member, the road from Uganda to Congo is connecting Uganda to Congo, improving the business between Uganda to Congo, so it is part of your priorities. Honorable members, you don't need to take a lot of time on this report. One, it does not have a national outlook. We are talking about national roads. Let's have a report on issues of national roads. That's one. Two, let it have a solution, not lamentation. Honorable Minister of Works, work together with the finance and have solutions other than you coming to lament on the floor. Let him support you and tell you what is available and what you want us to do as Parliament to support you, because we need these roads. So, General, we know you need money, but tell us what can we do? Which roads can we stop and which one can we continue? Which ones are a priority? And finance, can you support? Can you support works? Yes, General? Before the General, you accept, can we have law? Honorable Lop.
Thank you, Right Honourable Speaker. I would like to thank the General for the observations he has made. Now that the Speaker has classified his statement, in a way she has desired. I will call them observations the General has made, to request that he should give us a peek into the road contracts that come on the blue pages, on the blue papers, that are awarded on those blue papers, so that we can know how they are secured. If the honorable member from Kasese wants their road on a blue paper to come on a contract via the blue paper, what do they do with that signature, which the General is accustomed to? What do we do to get those contracts? So because they are not one of the ones she's reported about, how do we get to have these roads also included? I know the Minister of Finance is also not aware. Remember, right, Honorable Speaker, we classified the challenges of those roads because they constitute borrowing without parliamentary approval. So may we know...
Did you say borrowing without parliamentary approval?
Yes.
Is there any loan that is borrowed in this country without our approval?
Yeah, you know, right, Honorable Speaker, I use graphical communication. And the Land Attorney General is aware of what I'm talking about.
Attorney General.
No, let me be as clear. When a contract is awarded from State House and it constitutes pre-financing, please construct, I'll pay, that constitutes borrowing. By any stretch of imagination, it is borrowing.
Counsel, I just want a clarification. Is there any contract that is issued from State House? Attorney General, I need a response from government, not you.
Right, Honorable Speaker and Honorable colleagues. There is no contract which is valid in this country which is not cleared by me. That is under the Constitution. So, and I don't sit in State House. But, Right Honorable Speaker and colleagues, there is no contract that is issued other than through the correct procedures of the law. Even when you receive the blue letter, you are expected to carry out that and implement that through the proper legal procedures.
Honorable members, pre-financing is not borrowing. We have an option in this house to reject the loan when it is brought here, and whoever is given a blue letter should act within the law. You should not just rely on the blue letter. General, law are not finished.
Honorable Speaker, I am happy with the explanation of the Land Attorney General. He is actually putting on notice people that have been acting outravious the law, that he will not be available to your defense. So all be aware that the Land Attorney General has put in notice that he will not be available at your defense, acting on blue pages. Right, Honorable Speaker, I think the intervention of members to the General's statement is very clear. We need to get an understanding of how, for example, some projects inordinately delay, and then we get information that UNRWA returns funds to finance. The same UNRWA does not have money. And why these delayed projects at times are renegotiated at usurious rates, and we get the sense that the delays are deliberate to attract, penalties. I think this whole sector, right, Honorable Speaker, has a problem. And I'm very sympathetic to the good general because I believe he is frustrated. He wants the roads to be done very fast, like he did some in Masaka, because we were there to put pressure on UNRWA to act fast. Somebody is distracting the general who is being frustrated by people working on the roads. We need a proper understanding on what we need to do at the parliament, because I don't think we are indictable for the nature of our roads. Secondly, is the general satisfied with the period within which these roads deteriorate, because some roads are done in 2 years, they are gone. And they were internationally contracted. Some bridges are washed away by storms and life is normal. Some roads are deteriorating very fast. General, is there a problem for which you need a remedy from this house? That a road can deteriorate in 2 years and then we look for more money to reconstruct, rehabilitate the same road? There's a problem. Is it contracting? Are the contractors really serious people? Right, Honourable Speaker, I visited Mbale City in one of my oversight programs, and some of the East-Mid roads have been under construction for more than 5 years. The contractors abandoned some of the projects and are still getting new contracts. The members from Mbale City can bear me testimony to this problem. Is the general aware of this public waste going on in some of the youth media programs? So 5 years, one of the roads in Mbale City, in the middle of the city, was abandoned, but the contractor was fully paid. So he's bewitching us. So, right, Honourable Speaker, I think we need to get a good understanding of what is happening to this sector and support this country, support the taxpayer. We need the roads. But I want to encourage the general to speak out. We shall support you. Speak out on who is frustrating you. Who is paying the contractors with half-done work and they get fully paid? Who is paying ahead of undone work? Who is really exaggerating the cost of the roads in Uganda? We have a record of the highest cost road in the world. It's written about in the Guinness Book of Records. I think it will be there, Entebbe Express. So who is negotiating road construction in this country? Are our engineers devoid of capacity to negotiate?
I can see how you're massaging. Can we conclude and we go to the next item?
I wanted to encourage the general to know that you are with him, to summon the courage to speak out, to expose, so that he comes here to ask for money now that we are in a budget period, but having opened up the challenge, then money will be available. And of course, with a promise from finance, that finance will stop supplying air to local governments to do their work. Yeah, I'm hearing that finance supplies air to ministries as well. Finance should be candid on how much money is available, that people can plan properly. Please be candid on your resource envelope. It's not about you, it's not person to holder, it's a government. Tell us that you're handicapped and we support you. Work within handicap. Thank you, Honourable Speaker.
Thank you. Can we have another report in regard to what has been presented and solutions from finance? You should work together with the finance, and we need a report with a national character. And I know Lop is soliciting for words from you to say so and so is frustrating you, but I don't think you're being frustrated. It is financing. Not finance, but financing. There is no money, and we must look for that money. We must appropriate that money, and the money must be released. So we'll wait for your report in 2 weeks' time. Honourable Minister, 2 weeks' time.
Much obliged, your right honourable Speaker. I just wanted to respond to the issue of the road unit equipment for the 16 districts. Yeah, we got the 29 billion. The total is 55 billion. We got to the 29 billion. We have started the process of purchasing the equipment, but we have already brought it to the attention of our budget and also infrastructure committee that we need 26 billion more to bring the total for the purchase of the equipment for all the 16 districts.
Honourable Minister, we need those equipments. I know very well we budgeted for that amount. We budgeted for it. It is just the release. So we need those equipments for the new districts. Next item.
Item 5, laying of papers, the semi-annual budget performance report, financial year 2022-2023.
Honorable Minister of Finance.
Madam Speaker, I beg to lay on table the semi-annual budget performance report for financial year 2022-2023. I beg to lay.
Thank you. I want to refer that to all the committees to avail you with information on appropriation as we undertake to do our oversight role.
Item 6, Bill second reading, the Physical Activity and Sports Bill 2022.
Honorable Minister of Sports.
Right Honorable Speaker, in accordance with Rule 130 of the Rules of Procedure of Parliament, I beg to move that the bill entitled the Physical Activity and Sports Bill 2022 be read for the second time.
Is the bill seconded? I'm looking at the demeanor of the members first. Is the bill seconded? Seconded by Medis Sereko, Aru, Pascal, Santa, Christine, Mwijuche, Solo, the Minister of Honorable Bahati, Honorable Finance, Attorney General, General Katumba, all the ministers, the whole house. Thank you so much. Would you love to speak to your motion briefly?
Thank you very much, Madam Speaker. On Tuesday, 6th of December 2002, a bill entitled the Physical Activity and Sports Bill 2022 was, in accordance with Rule 128 of our Rules of Procedure of Parliament, read for the first time and was referred to the Committee of Education and Sports for scrutiny. The object of the bill is to provide for the registration of the national sports federations, to continue in existence of the National Council of Sports, to provide for the administration and management of sports in Uganda, to designate the National Anti-Doping Organization, to provide for the role of the Uganda Olympic Committee, to repeal the National Council of Sports Act, Cap 48, and to provide for other related matters. Right Honorable Speaker, the bill was necessitated by the need to address the current challenges of the sports administration and management in Uganda, owing to the inadequacies of the National Council of Sports Act, Cap 48, and an act that was enacted in 1948. The National Council of Sports Act, Cap 48, is limited to only amateur competitive sport and does not provide for the commercialization of sports or professionalization of sports, or the current global trends in sports development, management, and practice, and therefore, to a large extent, it inhibits the development of sports in Uganda. Right Honorable Speaker, the Ministry of Education and Sports therefore developed a national physical and sports policy to guide in the promotion of the physical activities and sports in a framework responsive to the modern practices and for the directions of the sports at the national and international level. Right Honorable Speaker, honorable members, sports remains a key area that unifies Ugandans and which generates a spirit of patriotism and national glory for Uganda. Physical activity is also the uncontested source of excellent health, physical fitness, and mental health, which are the prerequisite for a productive population to develop a nation. Madam Speaker, there was therefore need for the Physical Activity and Sports Bill in line with the responsive to modern national and international sports policies, convention, and the national physical education and sports policies of Uganda of 2004. Madam Speaker and honorable members, you will recall that on 1st December 2021, this House granted Honorable Engineer Moses Magogo leave to introduce a private member's bill entitled the National Sports Bill, and subsequently the bill was tabled for the first reading on 10th November 2022 as the National Sports Bill 2021. This bill was also referred to the Committee of Education and Sports for scrutiny in accordance with the rules of procedure of Parliament. Right Honourable Speaker, then the Deputy Speaker, directed that both bills be harmonized by the Committee of Education and Sports process, and that we undertook with Honourable Magogo as shall be reported by the committee. Right Honourable Speaker, the Committee of Education and Sport has finalized the consultation on both the National Sports Bill 2021 and the Physical Activity Bill, Sports Bill 2022, and is ready to report. I therefore move that the bill entitled the Physical Activity and Sports Bill 2022 be read for the second time.
Thank you so much, Honorable Minister. It can't be read for the second time before we get a report. Can we have a report from the Chairman of Education and Sports?
I thank you so much, Madam Speaker.
To bring the report on the floor, then we'll subject it to a vote.
Madam Speaker and honorable members, our report on the Committee on Education and Sports on the Physical Activity and Sports Bill 2022 and the National Sports Bill 2021 is ready. And Madam Speaker, before I proceed, I would request that I lay on table the report and the minutes of all the meetings that the committee held to process this report. I beg to lay.
Please lay.
Madam Speaker and honorable members, I would beg that I don't repeat some of the areas that honorable minister has talked about for purposes of saving time. However, you allow me, Madam Speaker, to say that the National Sports Bill 2021 was read for the first time on 10th November 2022, while the Physical Activity and Sports Bill 2022 was read for the first time on 6th December 2022. Both bills were referred to the Committee on Education and Sports for consideration in accordance with Rule 128 of the Rules of Procedure of Parliament. The committee considered the bills in accordance with Rule 129 and 189C of the Rules of Procedure of Parliament, and hereby report as follows. Here we have the background to the bills, honorable members. The report is uploaded on the iPad. I would also request that I don't repeat the object.
There is a procedure matter.
Thank you very much, Madam Speaker. I'm raising the procedural matter on our order paper, and I wanted your guidance. Item number 9 actually is a motion for adoption of the report of the Select Committee on the inquiry into the operations of National Council of Sports. And we are about to now process a very important bill which relates very closely with the operations of National Council of Sports. Wouldn't it be procedurally right that if that report is ready, we first receive it so that the pronouncement by this House can therefore directly feed into the process of enacting this legislation? And in the event that it is not ready, would not it be procedurally right that we now, after receiving this report, we stand over this process until we receive a report of the Select Committee on National Council of Sports?
Honorable Jonathan, have you looked at the report that you're talking about? Is it related to the bill?
Madam Speaker, I don't know if you want me to answer and we debate, but...
Because what is happening, the report that you're talking about is on financials, how the finances are used in an institution, misappropriation. It has nothing to do with the bill, completely.
I thank you for the guidance, but it would inform us on how we constitute the new council under this
It
law.
doesn't. Attorney General, does it?
To the extent that we have included in the bill that funds shall not be misappropriated, I think covers the issues you raised in that report. Because the report is looking for misappropriation, and in the act we have said, do not misappropriate.
Thank you, thank you. Can we, Chairman, can you finish?
Thank you very much, Madam Speaker. As I've already mentioned that I would request that I don't repeat what the minister has already said. The background is given here. The object of the bill is also stated. The methodology is also mentioned in the report. We had a series of meetings and also considered the positions of the harmonization meeting between the private member and government. We held a stakeholders meeting, Madam Speaker and honorable members, involving physical contacts of 26 federations and associations and other interested groups from the public who gave us their communication in writing. Madam Speaker and honorable members, you allow me to go on findings, observation, and recommendations. Inadequate funding of the sports sub-program. Madam Speaker, under the Certificate of Financial Implications, Section 76 of the Public Finance Management Act 2015 provides for cost estimates for bills as follows. Every bill introduced in Parliament shall be accompanied by a Certificate of Financial Implication issued by the Minister. The Certificate of Financial Implication issued under subsection 1 shall indicate the estimates of revenue and expenditure over the period of not less than 2 years after the coming into effect of the bill when passed. In addition to the requirements under subsection 2, the Certificate of Financial Implication shall indicate the impact of the bill on the economy. Notwithstanding subsection 1, 2, and 3, a Certificate of Financial Implications shall be deemed to have been issued after 60 days from the date of the request for the certificate. The committee observes that A, the National Sports Bill 2021 and the Physical Activity and Sports Bill 2022 conform to the requirements of Section 76.4 and 76.1 regarding the Certificate of Financial Implication as prescribed in the Public Finance Management Act 2015. Despite the fact that the government has committed Uganda shillings 48.412 billion, the funds that have been allocated the sports sub-program for the financial year 2022-2023, 2023-2024 is only 17.39 billion, thus raising concerns on whether government will allocate enough funds for the implementation of the law once enacted. C, whereas Section 76.3 requires the Certificate of Financial Implication to indicate the impact of the bill on the economy, the certificate issued highlights the need for the bill only regarding the commercialization and development of sports, but does not indicate the expected gains or revenue to government projected once the bill is enacted. The impact of the bill on the economy is therefore not articulated as envisaged in the Public Finance Management Act 2015. Part 1 of the Physical Activity and Sports Bill establishes a national recognition and reward scheme. Notwithstanding the fact that the bill seeks to empower the minister responsible for sports, prescribe the awards including monetary payments, pension, and gratuity that may be awarded to the sports personalities under the National Recognition and Reward Scheme, the same has not been provided for under the planned expenditure over the medium-term expenditure framework. The committee reiterates its concerns on whether the government's commitment to implement the provision once enacted. Part 3 of the Certificate of Financial Implications tags funding of the bill once enacted, funding within the available resources under the Human Capital Development Program. The committee is aware that the physical education and sports program in Uganda has been underfunded previously. According to the Ministry of Finance, regarding the sports budget, there has been a growth of 1,306.18% from Uganda shillings 3.1 billion in financial year 2016-17 to Uganda shillings 47.81 billion in financial year 2022-2023. However, the reduction of the sports budget from 47.81 billion to 17.39 billion in financial year 2023-24, which represents 64%, is unexplainable. The committee invited the Minister responsible for finance to substantiate this matter concerning the certificate of financial implications and commit to the financing of the law once enacted. The minister appeared before the committee and gave reassurances of the government's commitment to the sports program. The minister labored to explain to the committee the several competing funding priorities of the government and pledged to seek guidance of the minister responsible for sports regarding how best to promote sports development in Uganda. He confirmed to the committee that the government has the capacity to implement the law once enacted. Recommendation. The committee recommends that government's commitment to the funding of the sports program ought to be manifested through the current budget estimates, proceeding and in the medium-term budget estimates. 4.12, the proposed sports disputes resolution mechanism. The committee observes that arbitration is the internationally recognized best practice in the settlement of sports-related disputes. That clause 42.3 of the private members' bill is a prudent provision in the bill, as it provides for the council to regularly update a list of arbitrators from whom a panel of arbitrators may be appointed from time to time. The benefits of having sports arbitration mechanisms are A, autonomy of sport. With the availability of arbitration as the sports dispute resolution mechanism, third-party influence from national courts would be avoided, as the parties would have consented on arbitration through arbitrators. Additionally, arbitration would provide for expert, cost-effective, and prompt alternatives to the dispensation of justice as compared to court-based litigation. Experts in the field of sports law, labor law, and any other laws related to sports would ensure fair hearing and application of justice as per the laws and regulations of the international federations. Here below, the opinion of the Attorney General honorary members as it is in the report has been given. And the committee recommends that arbitration is in tandem with international sports statutes to settle sports-related disputes without recourse to courts of judicature. Most international sports statutes bar the referral of sports-related disputes to the ordinary courts of judicature and is always a ground for suspension from participation in competition organized by international sports federations. B, the council shall provide and regularly update a list of arbitrators from whom a panel of arbitrators may be appointed. The council may remove a person or persons from the list of arbitrators because of 1, inability to perform the expected functions arising from physical or mental incapacity. 2, abuse of office. 3, lack of integrity and corruption tendencies. Then on 4, misbehavior or misconduct. 5, incompetence or failure to undertake 3 sports dispute resolution roles once appointed by a party to a dispute. 5.1 Interpretation Clause. Under the interpretation clause, that's the observation that we have made as a committee. Recommendations. Mr. Speaker.
Have you gone to committee stage?
No.
Interpretation clause will come at committee stage.
Guidance, Madam Speaker. I can go to on provisions on administration and governance of the council. That one allow me also to proceed to part 2 of the bill. Incorporation of national sports federations. You allow me, Madam Speaker, to go straight to the observations of the committee. Incorporating national sports federations under Companies Act 2012, beg your pardon, will pose the risk of having more than one national sports federation in respect of sports discipline being registered. This not only causes confusion and conflict in the sports sector, but also affects Uganda's participation in international competitions. The incorporation of the National Sports Federation under the Companies Act 2012 poses further challenges in instances where a national sports federation is deregistered by the National Council of Sports, but the same national sports federation continues its operations by virtue of its incorporation under the Companies Act. C, that a provision is created in the bill to provide for the mandatory collection of beneficial ownership information to the federation to be able to meet the requirements of Recommendation 24 and 25 under FATF. The committee therefore recommends, Madam Speaker, you allow me to go to 5.4, inclusion of sources of funds of federation and association in the bill. And these are the observations that have been made, and the recommendation is that the declaration of sources of funds for federations should be included and adopted in the bill. There is a need to monitor the sources of funds to avoid duplication of funding of activities by the federations. They also need to link the funding of the sponsors and ensure that there are no ill motives behind the funding, such as the promotion of LGBTQ. Part 3 of the bill, administration. Madam Speaker, the committee observes that the administration of the Act is provided for under Part 3 of the government bill, while under the private members bill is under Part 2. The committee observed that both bills provide for the management of the Act in a similar manner. Clause 24 of the government bill, which provides that a chairperson, any member of the board, or any other person authorized by any member of the board can execute or contract on behalf of the National Council of Sports, is subject to abuse. The committee recommends that the administration of the Act by the National Council of Sports, as prescribed under the government bill, be adopted. That clause 24, subclause 4 of the government bill be amended to provide that an instrument of or contract to be undertaken by the National Council of Sports can only be executed by way of a resolution of the board. Part 7, offenses and penalties. Madam Speaker, I would request that for purposes of time, since members are having spent the night with this bill, with this report, you allow me to proceed and read. The committee observes that both bills prohibit the offenses of doping, unlawful utilization of commercial rights, unauthorized use of sports results in betting, betting by specified persons, manipulation of sports competition, acts of violence, and organism and broadcast of sports events organized by federations without authorization. There are offenses in the private members' bill that are not incorporated in the government bill, and these include the prohibition of electronic media production and dealing with counterfeit materials. The provision in clause 45(4) of the government bill, which criminalizes the failure to report a person who intends to commit an offense, is ambiguous and unforeseeable. Recommendations. A, clause 45(3) should be amended to remove the ambiguity by prescribing that a person who knows or has reason to believe that a person has committed under subsection 1 shall report the matter to the Uganda police, the council, a person authorized by the council. The government bill should in principle capture all offenses provided for under the private members bill. The harmonization report. The harmonization report meeting reported back to the committee, and the following were some of the positions. Title of the bill. The bill should be entitled the National Sports Bill. Justification. Cabinet Principle 9, under Minute 333, in bracket CT 2013, provided that the bill should take cognizance of physical activity and sports as a means to enhance national health promotion and provide for concerted collaboration between all sports and health stakeholders to develop pass and health society. However, the Ministry of Education and Sports has not yet developed a policy to support the principle. Therefore, there are no provisions relating to physical activity in the government bill. Madam Speaker, allow me to go to observations. Whereas the government bill is entitled the Physical Activity and Sports Bill, there is no policy as explained above relating to physical activity. Recommendations. The committee recommends that the aspect of physical activity be dropped from the title since there are no provisions relating to the same. Accordingly, the committee recommends that the title of the bill should be the National Sports Bill. The administration of the bill, Part 3 of the government bill and Part 2 of the private members bill. As it was agreed, that the bill should be administered by the National Council of Sports, which should have 7 members appointed by the minister as proposed in the government bill. The committee further reports that at least 3 of the members of the board shall have technical knowledge, administration, or participation in sports discipline. The other 4 members of the board should have knowledge of sports. D, in appointing the members of the board, the minister should ensure that the following are represented on the board, as listed below, Madam Speaker and honorable members. E, the term of office of the member of the board shall be 4 years, and that the member is eligible for reappointment for 1 more term. Justification, due to the uniqueness of the sports sector, to grant the minister the discretion to appoint members of the board, ensuring the representation of critical sports stakeholders, the interests of the sports subsector, and technical knowledge in sports. This will ensure that only persons appointed to the board have technical knowledge in sports, thereby ensuring that growth and development of the sport sector in Uganda. Below are the observations from the committee, Madam Speaker and honorable members. Justification, to provide for a representative council and ensure that the stakeholders of the sports fraternity are represented by members on of their choice.
Honorable Chair, and those part of your amendments.
Yes.
So what will you tell us when we reach that stage?
So, Madam Speaker, you allow me to quickly summarize and pick out areas that we've.
areas that are not part of the amendments and they are not part of committee stage.
Madam Speaker, I would therefore request members through you to allow me pick only the just observation and recommendation without reading stories. Madam Speaker, to save on time, to allow other business to flow, I would request honorable members through you that I go to page 26, conclusion. The imminent need to update the reform and consolidate the law relating to sports is vital because the existing National Council of Sports Act Cap 48 was enacted in 1964 and has become obsolete. Madam Speaker, the committee recommends that both bills are harmonized into one bill and passed into law, subject to the attached proposed amendments. I beg to report.
Thank you so much, Chair of Sports, Education and Sports, for your report. The floor is open. Honorable Minister. And I don't want us to take a lot of time in debating a report. What we need to debate is on the amendments.
Thank you, Right Honorable Speaker. I want to thank the Chair for the report and the Minister. I just want to make a small correction on the report on arbitration when you say physical and mental capacity. Physical means you deny the disabled to be part of that bill. So please, I beg Madam Speaker, the word physical be removed. It doesn't really augur well. It will be a discrimination. Thank you.
That's a good observation, Honorable Chair. Hajat.
Thank you, Right Honorable Speaker. I just seek a clarification. On page 9, it says that Honorable Engineer Moses Magogo proposed that sports federations are registered by the National Council of Sports as opposed to incorporation under the Companies Act to avoid bureaucracy in the incorporation of sports federations that now pertains. But on the following page, under the Attorney General's advice B, it says that the proposal by Honorable Engineer Magogo to incorporate and register sports federations by the National Council of Sports will defeat the implementation of recommendations 24 and 25. This presupposes that Magogo was proposing that they be incorporated. Yet initially, he's saying that he's against the incorporation, so it has caused confusion. I don't know which is which. What was the proposition of Honorable Magogo?
Honorable Magogo, what was your proposition?
Right Honorable Speaker and colleagues, members of Parliament, in my bill that I moved as a private member's bill, my proposal was to incorporate federations exactly the same way political parties are incorporated under the Political Parties and Organizations Act. My proposal was that if a federation goes to the National Council of Sports, it comes back as a body corporate that can sue and be sued, as simple as that. However, what the Attorney General is saying that federations should first incorporate as companies limited by guarantee. and then after that, they go to National Council to be registered. And from experience, we realize that that is what is existing currently, and it causes confusion that sports federations go in another legal regime, and then after that come back into another for them to operate. And these are some of the challenges that we've experienced, because the federations today are registered as trustees. But this does not exactly fit into our requirements of international affiliation. And this is not the practice in many other countries. And the requirements of a company are not exactly the requirements of a federation. So we're proposing that, as simple as that, why don't we just go to the regulator, that's National Council of Sports, and come back as body corporate so that we own property, we can be sued as federations. That was the proposal, and of course the Attorney General had another version of it. Thank you.
Thank you, Attorney General. What do you think?
Thank you, Right Honorable Speaker and Honorable colleagues. Honorable Speaker and Honorable colleagues, the issue here is where does a federation get its legal personality? That's the question. The regulation is going to be by National Council of Sports, definitely. But currently we have entities that register persons to give them legal capacity. A company is registered under the URSB, and then it goes and conducts trading business, and it is regulated by under the Trading Act. However, what our colleague, the mover of the private members bill, was proposing, that we create a new mechanism of granting legal capacity under the Ugandan legal regime. While it is legally possible, I did advise that we have gone through a process of getting Uganda off the grey list under the Financial Action Task Force. And we have already declared all methods that are used in Uganda for creating legal personality. That if we make under this law a new method of creating legal personality, we are going to fall back on this process. So we were proposing that the federation should be incorporated under one of the existing mechanisms for creation of legal personality. We had proposed companies, but they said no, they don't want to be a company, but we need to find one method of creation of legal capacity for them to be incorporated. I beg to submit.
Honorable members, Shadow.
Thank you, Right Honorable Speaker. I think the Attorney General are not fair to us because you've not been very clear and unambiguous. One of the ways you can create a body corporate is through an act of parliament. So, is there a way we can create those other bodies under this particular bill?
That's what I'm saying, that it is legally tenable, but in the present circumstances where we are being assessed by the Financial Action Task Force for June 2023, if you create a new entity, a new method under this act of creating legal personality, Uganda will not get off the grey list.
When do we get out of that grey list?
We are supposed to be inspected in June 2023.
So can we pass the law and say it is effective from July?
Yeah, you could do that, but Right Honorable,
I'm just asking, is it possible?
My proposal, my advice to the House would be that we use one of the existing methods which have been checked and tested without trying a new one.
Honorable the Seconder. But I don't know why we are going.
Speaker.
I don't know why we are going to this, because that will be at committee stage.
No, yes, but because a member sought clarification, Right Honourable Speaker. The learned Attorney General, I think, just don't fix us in a box. And because of the financial task force, financial action task force, this parliament's hands are tied from creating corporate bodies under any subsequent legislation. I think there is need for us to reconcile our powers as an organ mandated to make law and our obligations under the task force. You need to reconcile the two, because the mover of the motion gave an example. I registered the JEMA party in 2005. At that time, we were registering it from the company registry. When we enacted the Political Parties and Organizations Act, because of the same reasons we are giving, creating uniformity in the law. If I have a political party to register, I only go to the Electoral Commission, which is the registry, according to that law, and I become a body corporate. And this is precisely the proposal by the mover of the motion. So I would rather that moving forward, can we reconcile our obligation as a parliament with our obligation under the Financial Action Task Force? And then we move forward. I think that's the only issue in between.
There's a procedure matter.
Thank you, Right Honorable Speaker. The nature of the bills that we are processing, probably coming at a time that the chairman has already reported, there are two bills with their different principles that have been harmonized, and the chair has reported on the same. Ordinarily, we should have debated the principles separately, which in this case may not now be possible. So the procedural matter I'm requiring you to rule on is whether, with the report harmonizing those provisions, we should again debate the principles, and yet the report by the chairman, and he's going to give us on clause by clause how they have harmonized each and every item. Wouldn't it be procedural right that now we move to that stage where we can receive the actual harmonization of the two bills?
Thank you, honorable members. There were two reports, and as you heard from the chair of the committee, there was a private member's report, a bill, and then there was, which was tabled on 10th November 2022, and then the government bill of 6th December 2022. The two bills were harmonized, and out of the harmonization, that is the report we got today. What Honorable Dori is saying, we should be going to committee stage now, and we look at the harmonized position, clause by clause. Is that accepted by the House? Is that seconded? I now put a question that the Fiscal Activity and Sports Bill 2022 be read for the second time. Those in favor say and the contrary nay. The ayes have it. Honorable members, under normal circumstance, we are supposed to go to Bills Committee stage. I am standing over that stage because of the problems that we realized that we had on local content. I want the Attorney General, the Minister, the private member, the shadow to go and harmonize the clauses that have been harmonized by the two and bring a harmonized position here. And that will be brought here tomorrow at 2. Can we go to the next item?
Item 7, motion for adoption of the report of the Select Committee on the State of Affairs at the National Social Security Fund.
Honorable members, you recall we had a matter in this House in regard to NSSF, and we referred that matter to a select committee, and the select committee was chaired by Honorable Mpaka Mwine, Honorable Mpaka is ready to report. The report has been uploaded and is on your iPads. Can we receive the report from the Honorable Mpaka?
Thank you, Right Honorable Speaker. I beg to lay the report of the Sectional Committee on the state of the affairs at the National Social Security Fund. I beg to lay the minutes and the supporting documents.
Please lay.
Right Honorable Speaker and Honorable Members, a report on the Select Committee on the state of affairs at the NSSF Fund. Introduction. On Wednesday, 25th January 2023, during the communication from the Chair, the Right Honorable Speaker of Parliament constituted a Select Committee to investigate the state of affairs at the NSSF. The Select Committee was given specific terms of reference and was required to exercise its mandate under Rule 190 of the Rules of Procedure of Parliament and the Republic of Uganda, and to report back to the House within 1 month. The Select Committee has therefore carried out a thorough investigation into this matter and has agreed to report the following. Honorable members, the background is on page 5. The rationale is on page 6. Allow me to go straight to the terms of reference for the interest of time. In executing its mandate, the committee was guided by the following terms of reference: to examine the corporate governance structures at the NSSF Fund; 2, to examine the circumstances surrounding the appointment of the fund's managing director; 3, to evaluate the status and safety of the savers' money in the fund; 4, to examine the extent of stakeholder engagement in the decision making at the fund; and lastly, to inquire into any other matter incidental thereto. On page 8, there's the methodology. On page 9, we made reference to relevant laws, regulations, and instruments. They're indicated on page 9. And again on page 9, we analyzed documents submitted by the witnesses. On page 11, desk research was also carried out. Allow me to go straight to 4.0. Comparison of the National Social Security Fund of Uganda and similar funds in the region. That is on page 11 and page 13. The governance structures at the fund before and after the National Social Security Fund Act, Amendment Act 2022. It should be noted that, that following the gazetting of the NSSF Fund Amendment Act 2022, that largely transferred the supervision of the NSSF from the Ministry of Finance to the Ministry of Gender on 7th January 2022, Section 29.
Why are you disorganizing somebody who is flowing?
Right Honourable Speaker, I thank you for giving me this opportunity. Right Honourable Speaker, we are handling a very important matter, which is the National Social Security Fund report. And Right Honourable Speaker, the Minister in charge of this docket is totally absent in this House. And the order paper, this item has been on the order paper, not just this afternoon, but has been there. And the Right Honourable Speaker, I was aware that this item is coming, and all the members and even the Minister. So the procedural matter I am raising, if it is intention, because there are 4 ministers. No, I am very informed, because NSF falls both in finance and in gender. And the minister in charge, the gender minister, is totally absent here. Oh, there is one. Right Honourable Speaker, the procedural matter I'm raising, would it be procedure right for the minister in charge of the docket to be summoned, to be present in the House as we handle this matter now?
Can we hear from the acting government chief whip? We are discussing a very serious matter on the NSSF. The minister responsible is not here. What information do you have for us? But we have one minister of gender. We
But-
have Honorable Samo.
Right Honorable Speaker, I'm aware that Honorable Samo is a minister in the gender subsector. I want to request, and I also have a Minister of Finance here. I have the Attorney General here. So my guidance would be that Honorable Samo, as of now, handles the docket as you give me, Right Honorable Speaker. I beg for your indulgence that maybe you permit me to call the Minister of Gender, then I get back to you in 1 minute. Let me get her on phone.
Honorable members, we have a lot of work in the order paper. We have a minister here, Honorable Asamo. We are not going to start postponing our work because the ministers are not here. We have a Minister of Finance. We have a very able Attorney General here. And we are looking at gender. Please go ahead.
Thank you, Right Honorable Speaker. It should be noted that following the gazetting of the NSSF Fund Amendment Act 2022 that largely transferred the supervision of the NSSF from the Ministry of Finance to Ministry of Gender on 7th January 2022, Section 29 of the NSSF Act grants the power to the Ministry of Gender to approve or disapprove with amendments the NSSF budget with reference to Section 2 of the definition part. The minister responsible for social security is the supervisor to the fund. Section 30, as amended, introduced the role of the Minister of Finance, Planning and Economic Development with the authority to approve or disapprove investment-related aspects in the NSSF budget. This is how the dual supervision was created. Whereas the old NSSF Act did not specify on the individual representation to the board and gave the Minister of Finance discretion in appointment, Section 3 of the NSSF Act as amended introduced a tripartite stakeholder board appointed by the minister, which comprises of the chairperson, the permanent secretary of the ministry responsible for finance, the permanent secretary of the ministry responsible for labor, 4 representatives of employees nominated by the federations of labor unions, 2 representatives of employers nominated by the Federation of Uganda Employers, and the managing director, who shall be an ex-officio member without the right to vote. 5.1, supervision structure of NSF before 2022 and its impact on governance. The committee was informed by the former managing director NSSF about how regulatory and oversight framework of NSF has evolved since 1985, when it was established as a body corporate, in light of governance challenges, notably in 2004, when the NSF was transferred from the Ministry of Gender to the Ministry of Finance, in 2011, when the Uganda Retirement Benefits Regulatory Authority was created. It was noted by the committee that due to a breakdown in the governance structure of the NSF, corruption scandals leading to the arrest, prosecution of the chairman of the NSF board, managing director, a contractor, the minister responsible for labor, who jumped bail and fled into exile in the early 2000s, His Excellency, the President, in a letter dated 6 September 2004, to the then Prime Minister of Uganda, the late Right Honorable Apollo Nsibambi, directed the immediate transfer of the NSF from the Ministry of Gender to the Ministry of Finance. In his letter, he highlighted, I have decided with immediate effect to transfer the NSSF fund from the Ministry of Gender, Labor and Social Development to the Ministry of Finance, Planning and Economic Development. The money in NSSF is too much to be handled by a non-specialized ministry. The Ministry of Finance is to review NSSF decisions and ensure that they are sound business-wise and are free of corruption. Honorable members, 5.2, challenges to the supervision structure of NSF following the National Social Security Fund Amendment Act 2022 and its impact on governance. The committee noted that on 7th January 2022, the NSSF Fund Amendment Act came into force. The amendments to the Act provided for the dual political and technical supervision by the Ministry of Gender, Labor and Social Development, and the Ministry of Finance, Planning and Economic Development, with the latter responsible for investment as specified in Section 30, 31, 34, 35, and 36 of the Principal Act, while the former is responsible for oversight and administration of the NSF respectively. However, the separation of the roles of the ministers presupposed that the provision of NSF Act were exclusive. A case in point is separation of the approval of the annual budget estimates by the Minister of Gender from the approval of investments and declaration of annual interest by the Minister of Finance. And yet these two are closely intertwined activities. The committee observed that the guidance of His Excellency the President in a letter dated 4th October 2019 to the Right Honorable Rebecca Kadaga, the Speaker of the 10th Parliament of Uganda, confirmed his decision to have the fund supervised by the Ministry of Finance and Ministry of Gender. The letter tabled by Honorable Matia Kasaija, the Minister of Finance, Planning and Economic Development, from His Excellency the President reads, Right Honorable Speaker, as you are aware, in September 2004, I directed the transfer of the NSF from the Ministry of Gender, Labour and Social Development to the Ministry of Finance, Planning and Economic Development. The main reason for this is that the Ministry of Finance, Planning and Economic Development is a specialized government agency to oversee the management of large funds. The ministry also has the capacity to review the NSF decisions and ensure that they are sound business-wise and free of corruption. I reaffirm my earlier decision on this matter. I do not agree with the proposal of NSF Amendment Act, NSF Amendment Bill 2019 to split the oversight mandate of the NSSF under two government agencies. The proposed arrangement would cause delays in the decision-making and create loopholes for corruption. I am therefore requesting that Parliament streamlines the oversight role of the NSF under the Ministry of Finance, Planning and Economic Development in the ongoing amendments to the NSSF Act. The Ministry of Labour, Gender and Social Development is represented on the board of NSSF. Multiple apex authorities are dangerous for accountability. If things go wrong, whom shall we blame? The committee noted that dual oversight mandate has indeed caused delays in the decision-making in NSSF, creatability and accountability from the two ministries. The committee mentions include A, in the budget approval letter dated 16th June 2022, the annual budget estimates financial year 2022-2023 were approved by the Minister of Gender, who deferred approval of real estate investment budget estimates and set conditions without consulting the Minister of Finance on the ongoing investment projects. The letter reads, under real estate component, the implementation of strategic land purchase totaling 400 billion should be deferred at the moment pending due diligence report. C, the Ministry of Gender directs the NSF to undertake investment activities without following procedure. For example, in a letter dated 7th December 2022 from the Minister of Gender to the chairperson of the Board of Directors of NSF, we note the expectation of Uganda. On page 18, observations negatively on the fund's reputation. Terms of reference, honorable members and right honorable sports. 6.1, to examine the circumstances surrounding the appointment of the funds of the NSF Act Cap 222 as amended by Act number 1 of 2022. Prior to the amendment of the NSF Act Cap 222, the appointment and tenure of the office of the Managing Director and the Deputy Managing Director were a sole discretion left to the minister responsible to the fund. 2. The NSF Amendment Act 2022 amended sections 39 and 40 of the NSF Act Cap 222 and created the appointment of the Managing Director and the Deputy Managing Director by the minister upon the recommendation of the Board of Directors for a period of 5 years and are eligible for reappointment for one more term upon satisfactory performance. 3. On 1st July 2022, Mr. Chimbowa, the chairman of the Board of Directors of NSF, notified the Ministry of Labour, Honorable Betty Amongi Ongom, of the board's decision on the recommendation to the reappointment of the Managing Director and Deputy Managing Director of NSF. The board highlighted, among others, exceptional stewardship of the fund, widely acknowledged positive transformation of the fund, and that the two officers tick all the performance boxes on technology, human capital, innovation, customer obsession, and sustainability. The board therefore recommend for their reappointment of the two officers for a 3-year contract effective 1st December 2022 and 30th October 2022 for Mr. Richard Byarugawa and Mr. Patrick Ayota, respectively. On 18th July 2022, Mr. Patrick Ayota, the Deputy Managing Director, notified Honorable Betty Amongi, the Minister of Gender, of his retirement, having attained the mandatory retirement age of 60 years in accordance with the NSF Human Resource Policy Manual under Section 23.3.1. On 20th July 2022, upon receipt of the notification of the retirement from Mr. Ayota dated 18th July 2022, the Minister reappointed Mr. Ayota as the Deputy Managing Director of the Fund for a one-year contract. The said reappointment was based on the recommendation of the board dated 1st July 2022. However, on the 22nd July 2022, Honorable Betty Amongi directed Mr. Richard Byarugaba to retire as MD of the fund, having attained the mandatory retirement age of 60 years in accordance with NSF Human Resource Policy, Section 23.3.1, before he could be considered for reappointment. Furthermore, the Minister in the same letter directed Mr. Richard Byarugaba to cease forthwith exercising the mandate and functions of the Office of the Managing Director, NSSF, and designated Mr. Patrick Ayota, the Deputy Managing Director, as the acting Managing Director until Mr. Richard Byarugaba retires, in accordance with the NSF Human Resource Manual. On 22nd July 2022, Mr. Richard Byarugaba notified the Honorable Minister of his retirement from office of the Managing Director of NSF and also expressed his desire to be reappointed as the Managing Director of the Fund in accordance with NSF Human Resource Policy and Procedures Manual for the retention of mission critical talent who have reached the Fund's retirement age. The Attorney General, upon receipt of the copy of the letter dated 27th July 2022 from the Honorable Minister, stopping Mr. Richard Byarugaba from exercising the mandate and functions of the Office of the Managing Director of NSF, having clocked the retirement age of 60 years, rendered a legal opinion contained in his letter dated 22nd July 2022 to the effect that the 5-year term of the MD was still valid and would continue in force until its lapse on 1st December 2022. In other words, the purported forceful retirement of the MD was unlawful and contrary to sections 39(1) of the NSSF Act and the instrument of appointment. Subsequently, the Minister received the letter of recommendation for the reappointment of Mr. Richard Byarugaba from His Excellency the President in a letter dated 6th August 2022, in which the President noted the need for quiet consultations before the appointments are concluded. His Excellency the President further noted that the growth of the fund from 1.7 trillion in 2010 to 17.2 trillion as at end June 2022, under the leadership of the MD and Deputy MD NSF, the President directed the issue of the appointment was to be discussed before Cabinet on 20th August 2022. The Minister, however, on 30th November 2022 issued another instrument of reappointment of Mr. Patrick Ayota as Deputy MD of the fund for a period of 5 years with immediate effect. On 7th December 2022, well after the Cabinet meeting on 20th August 2022, the Honorable Prime Minister, in her letter addressed the Honorable Minister of Gender, recommended for the reappointment of Mr. Patrick Byarugaba as Mr. Richard Byarugaba, as the MD of the fund. The Right Honorable Prime Minister noted that His Excellency the President had tasked her with a mandate to conclude the matter in a State House meeting held on 6th December 2022. Furthermore, the Right Honorable Prime Minister notified the Minister for Labour that comprehensive consultations with key stakeholders on the matter had taken place, and therefore directed Honorable Betty Ongom to reappoint Mr. Richard Byarugaba as the Managing Director in NSSF, as recommended by the NSSF board, to avoid managerial gaps which could put the Savers Fund at risk. The Right Honorable Prime Minister further advised that the allegations submitted by the Honorable Minister responsible for Labour against the MD have been referred to the Auditor General for investigations. On 15th December 2022, Honorable Betty Ongom responded to the letter of recommendation dated 7th December 2022, authored by the Right Honorable Prime Minister, declining the reappointment of Mr. Richard Byarugaba, citing the one-on-one confidential meeting on 9th December 2022, and requested to first brief His Excellency before commencing investigations. Honorable members, deferral of reappointment of the Managing Director, NSSF. On 7th December 2022, the Honorable Minister for Labour deferred the reappointment of the MD, citing a wide range of issues which needed to be investigated before Mr. Richard thereto tabulated as hereunder. Financial impropriety, pension towers. This is in regard to the variations. In the second column, those are responses of Mr. Richard Byarugaba. In the third, those are responses by the committee. Mr. Richard Byarugaba, in a nutshell, said the variations were within the PPD allowance of 25%, because the total of all the three variations were 23.91%. When the committee asked the Honorable Minister for evidence, the Minister provided no evidence to support the allegations. Honorable members, let me move straight to page 25. The existing crack, because all those are similar, they are in regards to the variations.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, unlike other reports which were loaded on the iPad much earlier for members to follow, this report was loaded at 3:40 p.m., about 15 minutes before he started presenting. Is he proceeding right now to start skipping very important information, and yet members have just accessed this report and are aware that thereafter we will be required to debate in a manner? I therefore implore you, Madam Speaker, that the chairman reads word for word. In the absence of doing that, Madam Speaker, then you will allow members adequate time to go and prepare and come and debate this report.
Honorable members, are you not following? The chairman is doing a very good job. Chairman, go ahead.
Thank you, Right Honorable Speaker. On page 25, the existence of a crack in the building, this is Pension Towers. Mr. Richard Byarugaba stated that the supervising consultant asserts there is no crack. The minister provided no evidence to the committee to support the allegations. On page 27, misinterpretation by the managing director of the budget for strategic land purchase. The real estate budget for 2022-2023 of 943 billion had an item of 400 billion for strategic land purchase for Nachigalala, yet the minister had obtained a valuation of 246 billion for the same land. Mr. Richard Byarugaba stated that due to the numerous claims relating
What
to
did you say? No, first repeat what you have just said.
Misinterpretation. I'm on page 27.
No, I just want you to repeat what you've just said.
Due to the numerous claims relating to the ownership of the land, which required lengthy due diligence and approval process, there is no money that was ever approved for the purchase of the Nachigalala land. That is a response by Mr. Richard Byarugaba. The minister provided evidence and the committee will report below. Corruption in the purchase of the MTN shares. Mr. Richard Byarugaba stated that the IPOs are regulated offers by the CMA and use listing rules. The minister provided no evidence to support the allegations. On page 28, payment of 3 billion kickback on contract from Mbuya Citadel Apartments. Mr. Richard Byarugaba stated that the allegations are not true. The minister provided no evidence to the committee in support of the allegations. Exchange of money for the sale of the Mbarara plot. Mr. Richard Byarugaba stated the allegations are not true. By the time the MD left the fund, the said piece of land had not yet been sold. The minister provided no evidence to support the allegation. However, it is true, the land has not been sold. Redesign of personal house of Symbion in exchange for business. Mr. Richard Byarugaba stated the allegations are not true, as the MD used the private contractors by the names of Mr. Charles Mugambe and an architect Susan Atai in 2007, way before Symbion was contracted by the fund. The minister provided no evidence to support the allegations. On page 29, commission of 5% of the contract value for Lubowa construction contracts through D-Point Consultancy Limited. Mr. Richard Byarugaba stated the allegations are not true. The minister provided no allegations to support the allegations.
No evidence.
Commission of 5%
Chair, the minister provided no evidence. Repeat that.
The minister provided no evidence to support the allegations. Commission of 5% contract value for